Next panelist, Mr. Trent Franks from the great state of Arizona. Mr. Franks.
Well, first, may I thank you, Chairman Arrington and Ranking Member Delbene, for the opportunity to add my voice to those of many others concerned about the crisis facing our military. Mr. Chairman, our Guardian class has consistently set before us the devastation that sequestration has wrought upon our military, and the doubt that it has cast upon our ability to defeat existing and emerging threats, let alone deter them. For my part, I'm here today to alert you to the dangerous state of our nation's strategic capabilities and what the Obama years have done to our ability to deter and defeat the deadliest weapons known to humanity. Under President Obama, the Kim dynasty in North Korea evolved from an eccentric regional problem with nuclear weapons into an extremely dangerous nuclear threat to the United States, and we are now very close to seeing them master the physics required to range the entire continental United States with their missile technology. Barack Obama's defense policies also placed Iran, the world's largest financier and enabler of terrorism, on track to gain a nuclear weapons capability. And unlike the Soviet threat, nuclear jihad, Mr. Chairman, cannot be deterred by fear of retaliation. It is an existential threat to the peace and security of the entire human family. And while the Obama administration debated whether or not we should develop and maintain a missile defense capability against such threats, our near-peer adversaries, who never had such qualms, were working tirelessly to exploit weaknesses in our missile defense architecture. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, effective missile defense is not only the last line of defense against a launched nuclear missile, it is our first line of defense against proliferation because it devalues such weapons as offensive military assets in the hands of our adversaries. However, the shameful reality is that under President Obama, our near-peer adversaries developed their capabilities while ours atrophied. And while we drastically cut funding to the Missile Defense Agency, as is illustrated in the handouts that you have, China and Russia were rapidly developing and testing high-speed maneuvering weapons, including hypersonic glide vehicles recently, which are specifically designed to exploit the gaps and seams in our missile defense architecture existing at the moment, and currently defeating the systems we have in place. These new weapons are capable of traveling more than a mile per second and fly at flat trajectory to prevent our missile defense systems from tracking them. The threat has outpaced us, and we must invest the appropriate resources to defend against the new threats or lose our ability to deter potential adversaries. Moreover, as our near peers find ways to defeat our current defensive capabilities, our strategic nuclear deterrent has fallen into desperate need of modernization. We currently spend about $25 billion a year on our nuclear arsenal. Well, that's about 5% of the DoD budget, which itself is only 17% of our total budget. And what that means is for less than 1/10 of 1% of our gross domestic product that is spent on nuclear deterrent, we have prevented World War III for 70 years. So to be successful, Mr. Chairman, a deterrent must be effective, reliable, and credible. And I would just say, in order to revitalize our military, to maintain a nuclear deterrent which is effective, reliable, and credible, and to build a missile defense architecture capable of meeting identified emerging threats, we require a defense budget top line of $640 billion. The $603 billion top line visits a modest 3% increase over Mr. Obama's projected FY18 defense budget of $584 billion. And if we intend to solve our readiness crisis, a budget of this size, it will force us to underfund our key capabilities such as nuclear arsenal and deterrent, defending national security space assets, and ballistic missile defense, just to name a few. If we are to make America safe again, a 3% increase will not suffice. So in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, may I just say to all of us here, that the first purpose of any government or its leaders is to protect the lives and security of its people, and the failure of this responsibility renders all others meaningless. Ronald Reagan once said to us that you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We can preserve this, the last best hope of mankind on earth, for our children, or we can sentence them to take that very last step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we do fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us that we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done. May history judge that this Congress was one that did all that could be done to protect the innocent in our own generation and to further ensure that American generations yet unborn will continue to walk in the sunlight of freedom. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Franks, for your remarks. And I don't see any other